Hi, I'm Rob Cosman. Welcome to my shop in New Brunswick, Canada. We're going to talk about hand planing, hardwoods. And if you haven't got your plane to the point where it can pull a shaving off a piece of hardwood like that, stay with me and I'll tell you everything I do, and you should be able to do it as well. I got a really nice piece, as I mentioned, of this piece of black walnut. We'll take a piece of hard maple, a wide piece, and we'll plane that surface. Show you how easy it is, and we'll start off on the edge of a piece of maple as well. Not going to be tough. In fact, what you're going to find out is that most of what I apply to pine, I do to maple, and there's not that much extra effort required. You may be surprised. So I'm going to tackle these things one at a time, and I want to introduce the first one, but I want to introduce it by first dispelling somewhat of a myth that planing hardwood is so much harder than planing softwood. Now, I was going to use a piece of pine, but I found a piece of yellow cedar, which is even softer than pine. Lovely wood, by the way. So I'm going to take my wood river, a little bit of wax on the sole of the plane, and I'm going to pull the blade all the way in so it's not projecting at all. And while I'm planing, I'm going to start spinning the adjuster until the blade starts to pick up a shaving. I'll make sure that it's, okay, the shaving's coming right out the middle, which is where I want it. So if you can tell by what little effort I'm having to apply, that peels off quite easily. Not much effort at all. Now I'm going to take this piece of maple. This is hard maple, eastern maple, sugar maple, whatever you want to call it. A little bit of wax on the sole. I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to retract the blade, so I'm not taking any shaving at all. While I'm advancing, I'm going to spin that adjuster till we start to pick up a shaving. It's a little off center, but not much. A little touch on the lateral adjustment lever, and then I start to pull it off. Now, is there extra effort? There's a little bit. Is it much? Not much at all. Certainly wouldn't tire you out in any great amount of time. I'm going to pull the blade back and see if I can get an even thinner shaving. Went too far. Not quite far enough. A little bit more. Didn't mean to bump that. A little more still. There. All right. That doesn't take much effort. And the most fundamental piece of planing is going to be how sharp your blade is. Yes, you want a plane that is a flat sole and everything is tuned up properly, but it's all about the blade. If the blade is not sharp, doesn't matter what you do, you're not going to have much success. You plane softwoods, you're going to be able to plane a whole lot longer in most cases before the blade dulls. When manufacturers make a blade, they've got the challenge of making the blade soft enough that you can sharpen it, but making it hard enough that it'll hold an edge. So we typically use cryogenically treated A2 steel, and it's hardened somewhere between 60-62 on the Rockwell scale. And you know, there's lots of different blades out there. I don't think the metallurgy in the blade matters as much as the person sharpening it. So what do? Well, if you look over here, I prefer to use a 1,000 grit stone to start with, and that 1,000 grit stone can either be a Shapton ceramic, or in this case a steel plate with what we call it industrial diamond, but it's actually a CBN product on there. And we finish with a 16,000 grit Shapton. Now some people only go to 8. Trust me, a 16 is going to give you that much better of an edge. Cost is not much different. And of course we use the Charlesworth ruler trick. We covered this whole process in the video we released called 32 Seconds to Sharp. Now, what's important about this is if you're dealing hardwoods and your blade is dulling faster than in softwoods, then you need to be able to resharpen. And the faster you can get it sharpening and the easier it is to sharpen, the more readily you're going to do it. I find in teaching folks is that they tend to let the blade get so dull that it's a long process to bring it back. For that reason, I have my sharpening station at the end of my bench. It's always left right here, set up to go, and I'm never more than a minute From the time I take my blade out, I come over here and sharpen, and I'm back planing again. And if it's that quick and that convenient, then you'll do it frequently. Now, something I didn't mention. Your blade starts, or hopefully you get your blade at what we might call 100% sharp. But the minute you start engaging it in the wood, it's going to start to dull, faster in some woods than others. But it will come down to a point where you no longer get that mirror finish, but it'll still cut. And you get to the other end of that scale and you're actually producing dust. You've got the blade way out and there's no control and a ton of effort and it's miserable. So I like to stay in, I call that the finishing phase, right up there at the 100%. I don't let it get too far off of that before I'll go back over and redo the process so that I can always get that perfect finish off of the blade. So you've got to learn how to sharpen. Yes, your plane has to be tuned up properly, but you have to master sharpening. It is not that tough. Get the good gear, and then the only thing left is you learning how to do it. All right, let's talk a little bit about grain direction, because if you're going to plane hardwoods, then that's something you're going to have to pay attention to. And this is like patting a cat. You always go from the head to the tail. Try to do it the other way around, the cat leaves. Now, softwood, sometimes it's not nearly as applicable. Here's this piece of yellow cedar again. So if I plane in this direction, I'm going to take a little heavier shaving than that. Okay, that's producing a nice clean shaving. Nice smooth surface. Spin it around. See if we get the same result. Nice clean shaving. Nice smooth surface. Now we'll try that in a piece of maple. Now when I look at that maple, it appears to me that I want to be planing in this direction. Actually, this is the surface I started. It's a little more little easier to see. Set that on there. A little bit of magic wax. Smooth surface. Clean shaving. No tears. Let's spin that around. We'll leave the setting the same on the plane. It's a little harder to push. Not a lot, but a little. Surface still feels good and the shaving is good. There was less resistance going the other way. So if I was going to choose, obviously I would take the one that had the least resistance. Now we're going to look at something like this eventually, and that is when grain direction is going to become a little more apparent, but I'm going to show you how we can tackle it. You have the option of paying a premium for what we'd call straight grain wood. Nothing moving, no twists and turns. Just nice straight grain wood. Can be a little bit boring sometimes, but it's beautiful wood to work on. If you're building furniture, it's nice because it's going to behave in the most predictable manner. And they have what's called, we call clear wood. This is stuff that you're going to pay a premium for as well. No knots, just nice. This is not necessarily straight grain, but it's nice and clear. No bumps, no bruises. And then you get stuff like this that has knots and other voids. And this is going to be cheaper, but you're going to pay for it because you have the difficulty of planing around that knot. At some point in the video, we'll actually tackle that and show you how to deal with it. But if you're looking for something that's going to behave, then you want to find some stuff that is nice and clear. You're going to pay a little extra for it. And then, of course, there's figured wood where you're purposely going out and you're wanting something that's got a lot of color in it and a lot of movement. And depending on what it is, you may pay a lot. But it's also going to really challenge you on your planing ability. And this is what we're going to tackle. And we're going to show you how we can take something like that and turn into a beautiful finish right off of the hand plane. Okay, if you're dealing with hardwoods, in particular, at some point you're going to deal with what we call tearout. So here's a good example. Anywhere there's a knot, you're going to have the grain running in different directions around the knot. So this is relatively smooth. This came off of a power jointer. But as soon as you get here, do you see how it's all torn all through here? And right behind this knot up in through here. Well, you wouldn't want to finish like that. I wouldn't use something with a knot like that either. But if I had to, or if I'm dealing with figured wood, you're going to do the same thing. There's going to be some tear out. So I'm going to actually go and plane this, but I want to talk to you about how do you avoid tear out. Well, first and foremost, and this probably accounts for 90, maybe even 95% of the performance, is going to be, and I'm harping on it, I know, a sharp blade. And if you've never known or you had a chance to use a properly tuned plane with a sharp blade, how would you know what sharp is? That's a tough one to try to explain through a video. Maybe I can demonstrate it. So my blade in here is sharp. Now, before I'd be done with this, I'd get rid of most of the rough surface, and then I would go and resharpen at least one more time to get that final perfect finish. Next thing we're going to need to pay attention to is how heavy of a cut are we taking. The deeper the blade goes, the more pressure it exerts on the wood fiber, and especially when you get that grain reversing and you're coming at it this way, it's going to want to tear no matter how sharp the blade is. So you want minimal exposure, but that means you need to have a nice flat sole, because minimal exposure on a sole that is concave by 2 or 3 thou, you're not even going to be able to touch the wood. And the final thing is closing the throat. So the gap that is created between this part of the sole of the plane and the blade, we refer to as the throat. And that's pretty open right there. And you want that to be open in times when you're taking heavy shavings, but when it comes time to dealing with something that is prone to tearing, now you've got to close that throat down. So on a bedrock style plane, which is going to be the easiest, there's going to be at least 3 screws in the back here. And the 2 outside ones are what hold the frog, this thing right here that supports the blade. They hold the frog tight, so you loosen those a little bit. The center screw is going to move the entire apparatus, meaning the frog, the blade assembly, the lever cap, so that you can close down that throat. Now I like to have a light colored background so that I can watch that opening closing. I guess that's the only way to say it. And I'll keep closing that down, watching that gap get smaller and smaller. Now you also have to recognize that on most planes, the frog assembly sits on a ramped surface. So as you move the frog forward, the blade's going to project farther out of the sole, or out of the throat. So you've got to turn that around and pull it back in counterclockwise to retract the blade. And I'll square that, or I'll get it parallel to the sole while I'm doing this. I want to just pull the blade in until I no longer see it. Now, in doing this, I want to try to plane in the direction that most of the grain is running, but in this case, it's going to be a percentage. And sometimes you can't tell by looking, but if you can feel. So if I run my hand this way, until I get right here, it feels relatively smooth. If I turn my hand this way, then you can almost hear it. See if you can pick that up. I can hear it, but that's obviously going the wrong way because I can feel it biting into my hand. So I'm going to plane in that direction. I've got it dug down so it's nice and tight. I've got a little bit of wax on there. The blade is retracted. And as I plane, I'm going to start to advance the blade, watching to see where the first bit of shaving comes out. And I notice it's on the right side, so I'm going to make a little adjustment by pushing the lateral adjustment lever to that high side. And that's going to cause the blade to pivot like this and hopefully swing around so that it's parallel to the sole. Now the first thing I have to do is get rid of any of the surface imperfections caused by the thickness planer, which is always going to be little dips called snipe. My first pass is on this side with part of the blade hanging over the edge. Next pass goes down through the middle, and the final pass is on the outside part of the blade hanging over the edge. And I'll just keep repeating that process until I get a continuous shaving. Now, I like to check with the side of my plane to make sure that I'm keeping that surface flat. I don't want to take more off of one edge than the other. Now, I'm putting more effort into pushing the plane through this piece of wood than I would that piece of cedar, but it's not a lot. A little more wax. Now that's getting to a point where all the surface imperfections are being diminished. Now I've got some voids here. I can't do anything about that. But once I've got this all on one plane, I'm going to stop, put a new edge on my blade, so that I can get what I would call a perfect surface. So I'm just running my hand over that and checking it. And that's close enough that I should be able to put a new blade in. And a half a dozen or so passes, it should be where I want it. Okay, freshly sharpened blade. Get that parallel to the sole. Still a little heavy on the right. Still heavy on the right. I'm advancing the blade ever so slightly. All right, the last few passes. Okay, now I'm just going to throw some wax on there and see that light up a bit. Now if you examine that real close, this is the area right in here where there was tear, and there's none there now. Run your thumb or hand over that and it's nice and smooth. And it gives you a sheen off of the plane that you just cannot get off of sandpaper. Speaking of which, there may be times when you find some wood that you just cannot get a decent shaving, and you may have to sand. In those circumstances, I plane it as close as I can, and you might have to finish it with 320, but preference is always to get right from the hand plane. Of course, if you introduce curves, then you're going to have to do something else. Here's this other piece that I showed you that has the knot in it, and I planed that off camera. And here's the area that was torn. It eliminates all the tear. Remember, sharp blade first, minimal projection, and close that throat down nice and tight. Closing the throat down prevents the fiber from lifting up ahead of the blade, held in place by that part of the sole. Number one thing, learn how to sharpen. Have a well-tuned plane, but learn how to sharpen. And when you can sharpen freehand and you can do it quickly, then it's nothing to stop for a minute, go over there, sharpen, come back, and then be able to produce those kind of results. Good luck. No substitute for practice, but you got to have the know-how first. Enjoy it. If you enjoy my method of work and like my style of teaching, click on any one of these videos to help take your woodworking to the next level. I've always said better tools make the job so much easier. If you click on the plane and chisel icon below, it'll take you to our site and introduce you to all the tools that we actually manufacture right here in our shop. It'll also give you information on our in-person and online workshops.